Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Breach and Clear Deadline, played on PlayStation 4. Wasn't familiar with the first Breach and Clear game, released on Windows and PS Vita and other mobile devices, and it was just my affinity for games physically released in small runs via limited run games that ended up putting this into my hands. Otherwise, you can get this digitally on Xbox One or Steam, as well as the PlayStation Network. Breach and Clear Deadline brings some features to a typical isometric dungeon crawler that I personally haven't seen before, putting you in the heart of a modern city terrorized by various forms of zombie-like creatures created by parasitic worms that warped the host. You control a squad of 4 military men performing quests throughout the game's open world, with the eventual goal of evacuating uninfected civilians to safety. The game takes place in real time until you press the L1 button, which pauses the game and allows you to issue commands. Now, we've seen things similar to this in what I subgenre as real-time RPGs like Knights of the Old Republic and Dragon Age. But here, there are some very specific and very handy differences.
Yes, sir.
Once paused, you can switch between each member, move the cursor where you'd like them to go, and if you want them to hit enemies while they're walking that way, you can angle their cone of vision to keep attacking whilst obeying your movement command. You can issue orders to as many of your crew as you want, and then you press the R2 button to move through time, using the pressure sensitivity of the DualShock 4 controller to determine how fast that goes. This method of commanding gives you an unprecedented amount of control in a game like this, with up to 3 simultaneous orders per soldier that can be cancelled and reissue in the moment. This allows you time to set up all kinds of ambushes, and if you have mercenary soldiers coming against you, you can have one guy draw the fire while another one slips behind. You can also command your entire group to move in a diamond formation, but you can't choose a direction to fire while they do so. So it's mainly utilized for taking a new forward position or back position, or running away quickly while you have no possible line of sight on the enemies. Also, unlike typical dungeon crawler and more of the strategy side of things like XCOM, there's a fog of war that covers territory in black when you have no line of sight. After you complete the initial tutorial, you get to apply some customization to your squad, including giving them names, change their appearance, and most importantly, pick their class. There are 6 different classes to choose from, and all have abilities on their skill tree that really set them apart from one another. The intelligence officer works as a sniper, with boost to rifle damage and the ability to pin down a target. The medic gets boosted healing from medkits, the fire team leader gets a provoke ability, etc. Your party earns experience for kills and quest completion, and are awarded 1 point for the tree per level. All abilities take 1 point per leaf, but you can use up to 3 points and open the tree of another class. There's a trophy for hitting level 30, which would open a ridiculous number of skill tree nodes, considering I felt pretty powerful upon finishing the game at level 14. Any soldier can use any type of gun, but their respective skill trees do provide boosted damage to specific ones. There are tons of supply chests spread around the maps. There are medical chests that restock your medical supplies, explosive chests for various grenades, and regular chests that provide weapons of varying rarity, and if I had to guess, I'd say probably 100 or so total in the game. You can also get weapon attachments to modify guns if they have slots to do so. Armor can be received from these chests as well, but was a little bit more limited with just a helmet and chest option, which fall under light, medium, and heavy. I think I maybe obtained 2 to 3 of each throughout the game. If you get items you don't want to keep, you can go to any safe house and use the workstation to break them down into scrap, which can then be used in increasing amounts to improve weapons and armor alike. Your inventory has 30 slots where consumable items will stack but gear won't, making the game's fast traveling system from discovered bus stops very useful. The loading from fast travel is pretty quick, however the initial game load as well as moving between the game's 4 maps and 5 dungeons probably took close to a minute each. Your party shares its ammo store except what's currently loaded in the magazine, so it's generally a good idea to have each of your troops focusing on a different weapon type. You can find ammo deposits spread around that provide a various number of random ammo types, and you can also use the aforementioned scrap on a workbench if you're running low on something in particular. Oh, and enemies do have a chance to drop scrap in varying increments as well. There's a decent amount of time that can be sunk into content in this game, including side quests noted with green stars and text. The game also has 5 dungeons that have 20 levels of depth. 4 of them have main quests in them that end around the 4th or 5th floor, but you can delve deeper to try for better loot while continually facing harder enemies, as you climb to the top of an office building, the bottom of the sewers, and through a cave system, just to name the few. I did the 2nd dungeon all the way down, and I got a shotgun I ended up using for the rest of the game. There's an elevator every odd floor that lets you get out and back in quickly if you need to return to the safe house. But this is also where the problems start. After completing one quest in the office building, I decided to keep pushing up a couple more floors to see what was there. Then I used the elevator to leave, and the game crashed. My progress through the couple of floors was lost, and not only that, but it started me outside the building without a main quest. Walked around for a bit before finally ending up right back at the office complex doors, and somehow it triggered the next step like I'd just completed it. I'm guessing it must have a trigger from stepping in a specific area. It didn't stop there though. Anytime I used the exit in any future dungeon, I ended up with a crashed game, probably about 7 total in all. Now, you can save anywhere outside of combat, but one time I beat a side quest, I saved and I moved on. And when the game crashed, I was restarted in the same place that I had been kicked, but the optional quest I had completed had to be returned to and completed again. To be clear, I played this game on version 1.34, so I know they've been working on patches, especially after seeing some similar problems on Steam forums and seeing the developer respond directly to players, but 7 crashes can kinda take a guy out of the game for sure. Most zombie enemies are your standard shamblers, with a few that will charge at you and take a bit more to kill. As you go just on the other side of halfway point, you'll start to see some giants and some spitters, but I think unless you delve into the optional floors, you won't even meet enough to get their 100 kill each trophies. I remember 1 human and 1 zombie boss encounter, and those ended up being treated, honestly, just like any other fight. The mercenary humans with weapons were often the toughest competitors, but most went down pretty quickly. I guess really what I'm trying to get at is most enemy types have 1 or 2 types of behavior. Run at you or hide defensively, and a bit more variety in required tactics would have enriched the experience. The only other real issue was after getting some nice purple tier weapons and maxing them out with scrap, most situations became unnecessary to use the pause and command mode. It'd be nice if soldiers had stayed where I put them in command mode when I switched to the live twin-stick shooting instead of coming after the soldier I was controlling, especially if that's the one design decision the team made to force you to use the command mode. Now, I couldn't tell you what happens when a soldier dies because that never happened. In the course of 10 hours I spent with the game's campaign, in the second half I did probably about 95% of combat in real-time mode, with my aforementioned maxed out shotgun. Most of that 5% was just walking backwards as a group while aiming forward, as we bottlenecked enemies through a door. Aside from glitches though, Breach and Clear Deadline was a nice surprise twist on the dungeon crawling formula, with good class differentiation and skill trees, lots of weapons, a decent amount of side content, although it did get a bit repetitive, actually too repetitive to drive me to the bottom of all 5 dungeons for the trophy, a difficulty curve that got a bit too easy just after the middle when games should be getting harder, and also middling enemy AI, and quite a few game crashes. But props on the soundtrack. It had some very cool, unique electronic tunes. Rated as a dungeon crawler, strategy RPG hybrid, losing some overall points for instability and glitches, Breach and Clear Deadline hits a 59 out of 100 on a true 1 to 100 scale, with 50 being average. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. My limited run games collection is finally current. This is the 2nd review I've done on one of their releases. Subscribe to receive notifications for new videos, or follow me on Twitter @Umbra Games.